All righty. Looks like we're live here. Welcome to this special edition of Cajun Hikes. Before I get into the big announcements tonight regarding the Bayou State Trail and to give a few others an opportunity to jump on, I'm going to give you all a quick review of how this all started and how it led to where we are here tonight. So, first of all, I started this project, it's already now almost 5 years ago. I started working on this. And back in 2020, I started working on coming up with a potential route. And by the time the whole COVID thing started to wind down in early 2021, I decided to go ahead and start presenting this to the public, starting with my Rotary Club here in Lafayette. And then it went on to other Rotary clubs. And from there, it just continued to open up more doors as I was able to talk to other civic organizations, along with different elected officials along the way, tourism bureaus from each parish. And of course, the feedback was tremendous. And so by the time we got to the end of 2021, we had made a lot of progress getting the word out. We even met with the Lieutenant Governor, and we ended up forming the Bayou State Trail Association. So as we went into 2022, by that point was when we were starting getting to the next phase. We had people in place that were basically going to be playing specific roles within the Bayou State Trail Association. And the elected officials that we had been talking to had then started the process of bringing up resolutions to their elected councils to get official support of the trail running through their jurisdictions. So that went on for much of 2022 and into 2023. As we got further along into 2023, we were then trying to take it to the next level and basically be able to get that next step forward with some of these elected officials and start working on an official route through their jurisdictions. Now, prior to that, we were able to capture an official section of the trail with Chico State Park, compliments of the support that we were getting from the Lieutenant Governor. And basically what we were doing was we were attempting to take the traditional approach of developing a trail. The initial route that we had come up with was comprised of things that are available with linking existing trails and also having somewhat of an idealistic way of connecting some of these things. So we're basically trying to build the trail from day one. Well, as we got further along into 2023, the process started to slow down. We were not able to capture as many as we thought of getting these elected officials to bring it to the next level and begin the process of sitting down with us and being able to get an official route figured out and then get that adopted with their elected officials. So by the time we were able to get into the middle of 2023, there was a volunteer, and I'm hoping he's on the call tonight, Peter Kelly. He was tremendous over the last year in helping with our goal of getting this trail developed. He actually was able to work diligently last fall with me, as he was able to use as an internship actually with LSU. And during that time frame, I had him following up on some of the parties that we're trying to reach out to continue that next phase and continuing that traditional approach that we were seeking out for developing this trail. And along the way, when we realized we weren't getting a lot of calls set up or meetings set up, one of the things we had talked about was the fact that a lot's changed over the last few years in regards to trails, meaning because of the technology, primarily these phones, most hikers, particularly the younger generations, do not require a map. They do not require, particular signage along the way or the trail blaze in a specific color. They use the technology that's provided to them. And of course, there's several apps out there that provide those things. And one of the trends that we've been seeing over the last couple of years is the fact that there are these trails, and I throw up air quotes, that are getting very popular. And in particular, I'll give you an example out west. One that's becoming very popular is the Grand Enchantment Trail. This was something that someone just created the route on their own. They combined existing trails from just outside of Phoenix all the way to just outside of Albuquerque. And there were some roadwalks in between, but for the most part, it was a lot of existing trails. And this trail is becoming very popular. I'm starting to see a lot of well-known YouTubers that feature a lot of hikes on their channels going out and hiking this trail and featuring it on their channels. So it gave Peter and I an opportunity to just reassess the situation, because initially when I started presenting the idea for this trail, it looked like at the speed things were going initially, that this could be something that realistically could be completed within 10 years. But then we realized getting over that next hurdle and getting official sections approved, it was going to take a lot longer. So the idea that we came up with was, instead of continuing to try to sell this vision of a trail and get these sections approved one piece at a time, why don't we take the approach of something like the Grand Enchantment Trail? Let's just go create a trail that's hikeable now. So Peter worked diligently on this, and along with my input, was able to modify the existing route that we had in place and make it where it's hikeable. And it's basically 99.9% hikeable. Currently, there's 1/10 of a mile that I still need to be able to work out with Chico State Park. And outside of that, everything else is ready to go. So that's the first big announcement, is that we do have now a trail that people can go hike today. That leads to the second big announcement, and I'm going to go ahead and put it in the chat right now. The trail can be found on our website. We finally were able to get the website published just yesterday, actually. And really, it took a lot of time, but it was a blessing that it took a while, because initially all the content that we had was created for selling the vision of a trail. So by us rewriting all that content, we're able to publish it now on the basis of it being a trail that's hikeable. So if you want to go to the website, it's www.bayoustatetrail.com, and you'll be able to see it's an initial website, but there are a few kinks we need to work out still that I'm aware of. However, I wanted to make sure that I had it available tonight so that you can go and check out the map of the official or initial official route of the Bayou State Trail. And if you want to go straight to the map, you just go to the trails option. If you're on a cell phone, you'll be able to just go ahead and tap on the rectangular bars on the far right-hand side, and you'll be able to go to it. It is created through Google Maps, so you'll be able to click on it and open it up. And I want to, first of all, thank Peter for all the work he put into this. Secondly, there was another gentleman that came along in the last several months that were able to assist with this as well. Connor Farrell, I'm hoping that he's on. I texted him as a reminder before the call started that we were going to be discussing everything, but he came from behind Peter and marked off several waypoints along the trail. There are campgrounds, even water crossings, other points of interest, you name it. So this is a very comprehensive map that anyone can use. Now, obviously, there are going to be certain sections of the trail that you may not have strong internet coverage. So obviously, if you want to prepare for those things, you can go open it up, print up those sections. That way you have it as a backup. Now, I'm going to, at the end of this discussion, answer a few questions and comments, but to save time and not have to answer regarding where the trail's passing, is it going through here, or if it's not going through there, if you can go check out the map, you'll be able to see for yourself where this trail runs. I will give you a few points, though, about this trail. First of all, it's not completely changed. There were several sections that we kept intact. However, what we ended up doing was we ended up going back to the very first version that I created for more of the northern part of the state. And so now the northern terminus of the Bayou State Trail is going to be at the Ivan Lake Recreational Area inside the Bodcaw Wildlife Management Area. And it's just a few minutes south of the Arkansas state line. And it's about 30 minutes northeast of Bossier City. So we moved it back that way. Now, the big reason behind that is, if you've been participating in the discussions over the last few years, we had proposed to move it more straight up into north central part of the state through Ruston, because they have an abandoned railroad that's slowly converting over to a trail. And someday I'm sure it's going to be officially connected all the way from Pineville, which they're working on their section right now. And then Ruston's almost complete with theirs, but all the way from there through Ruston and into Arkansas. Now, I think that the Rock Island Greenway by itself is going to be a great trail to hike. And based upon how we create the Bayou State Trail, they're going to be connected. So that's a win. Now, with that being said, that's a project that's probably going to take 10 to 20 years or more, based upon the research we conducted. So we're in full support of the Rock Island Greenway. We want to be able to not only promote, develop, and maintain the Bayou State Trail, but when we started this organization, we want it to be several trails, and the Rock Island Greenway is definitely going to be one of them. So we're going to be in full support of the development of that trail as well. So that's the first section that was modified tremendously. The second section is in Acadiana. We wanted the trail ideally to run through the heart of Acadiana, which would have been from the Atchafalaya Basin out in between Henderson and Lake Foss Point State Park. We were going to have it, if you're going northbound, turn off and start cutting across St. Martin Parish through places like St. Martinville, Lake Martin, Breaux Bridge, then through Lafayette, and then northbound through Cameron Crow, Sunset, Opelousas before we make our way to Washington. I think that someday it'll happen, and I think it would be a much better route because of the experience people are going to gather by going that way. But similar to the situation with the Rock Island Greenway, that could be up to 20 years before we see something like that happen. So what we've done is we've kept the trail along the Atchafalaya Basin levee northbound all the way past US Highway 190 and up to the community of Palmetto, which is located more in the northeastern section of St. Landry Parish. And then it's going to cross back towards Washington, then up through Ville Platte and to Chico State Park. Now, just a quick breakdown of it. The trail itself, and I'm just looking at my notes to make sure I have this right, it's a little under 500 miles. Looking at some of the maps, it's somewhere in between 480 and 490. So I can tell you, when you break it down, right out of the gate, we connected 12 existing recreational trails. and it's approximately 220 miles on established recreational trails. So that's definitely a great starting point for an initial trail like this. Now, that leaves about 260 road walk miles. However, out of that 260, about 90 of that is gravel or dirt surfaces, which if you talk to long distance hikers, if they cannot walk on a single path nature trail, that's the second best thing, because they would obviously rather not have to walk on asphalt. So that leaves about 170, but out of that 170 for asphalt, most of that is not anything close to being on busy roads. Very few sections that we have to use as a connector to get on a busier road. So for this being an initial route, and I say initial because these trails evolve over time. Even the Appalachian Trail is still changing. This is definitely going to be a very hikeable and enjoyable trail for people to through hike if they so choose. And of course, in time, we will have some changes made as we move forward. And so how do we make that happen? Well, I think that by simply getting people out on the trail, it's definitely going to create that awareness. Instead of selling a vision for a long distance trail, now we can show people that we have people already out there hiking. So now it's really going to draw attention to some of these towns that could be drawing in these backpackers that may be looking for a place to spend the night, a place to eat, a place to, restock on all their supplies for the next 3-4 days or longer, maybe even finding a washateria to be able to wash their clothes, and maybe even looking for transportation to get to certain places. I think that's going to move the needle much faster than what we've been doing over the last 2 to 3 years. So I really am excited about the creation of this trail and what we've put together. And we put a lot of time into it. When you add in the 4.5 years or so I worked on it, then you couple in the work that Peter and Connor put in, collectively, if you added it all up, it's well over 5 years worth of work. So I'm really excited about what we've put together. And I have no doubt in my mind that a lot of people will be willing to hike this from start to finish. I've been watching a few videos just over the last few months of people hiking the Pacific Crest Trail and the Continental Divide Trail. For those of you that are through hikers, you're probably familiar with those trails. It's part of what they call the Triple Crown. If they can hike those two plus the Appalachian Trail, they complete the Triple Crown. Well, these hikers, both trails, have been facing wildfires. And so they've had to reroute. And a lot of times it's road walking, and they don't mind it. I mean, they want to be able to continue their footpath. And if they have to walk around the original route of the trail, they're going to do it. So I have no doubt in my mind that even though this is the primary route to start, a lot of people are going to be excited about it no matter what. What I want to get into now is basically how do we market this thing to get people out there to start experiencing it for themselves and to be able to show people what it looks like. So this leads to my third big announcement that I want to be able to put out tonight, is that starting this fall on this channel, I'm going to begin hiking the entirety of the Bayou State Trail. I'm going to go southbound. I'm going to start in late October at the northern terminus at Ivan Lake Rec area. Now, I don't have the ability or the time to be able to through hike something like this or even go for a week, 2 weeks at a time, but I'm fully dedicated and going as often as I can to connect my footsteps. I'll go for a weekend and maybe get 2 days in, maybe come back a couple of weekends later, get the next day or two in there. But most of this trail will be hiked by me by the end of this hiking season, which, as we know down here in Louisiana, it's pretty much by late April, early May, it starts to get a little sticky outside. So I'm hoping to be able to get into May with it. And if so, based upon my plans, and of course they're subject to change, but based upon my plans right now, it looks like I can probably get to the Atchafalaya Basin by mid-May. And then I'll just come back in the fall of next year and finish it up. Now, I've already hiked some of this. And if you've been watching my channel, in the first year of this channel, I hiked the Chaffly Basin Wilderness Trail, and that is part of the Bayou State Trail. And then this past year, I completed the Eric Kisatchie Trail. Well, the route that Eric came up with for that is very similar to the Bayou State Trail. There's certain sections of it where it's the same path. So instead of having to go back and rehike all that, I'm going to edit the videos when I get to that point and just line it up based upon how we're continuing to hike those sections from start to finish those days. So I'll be able to jump ahead and get further along this year on the Bayou State Trail in Kisatchie. One of the things that we're going to be doing with this is we're going to be taking the content from the videos that I'm publishing here, and we'll put some of that content out on the Bayou State Trail social media platform. So there'll be some short clips and photos on our Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and then also too, we'll put some short videos out on our YouTube channel. Now, if anyone else is out there that wants to just go start hiking it, go for it and send us all your content. We'd love to be able to see and hear about your experiences. With that being said, though, we want to make this, a great experience for everyone that would like to come along with me as well. So there's going to be some key roles that we're going to be looking to fill over the next month to prepare ourselves for the fall. And we're going to be posting all these on the Bayou State Trail social media platform. So the first thing is that we're going to need someone to help coordinate getting people out with me. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put out some dates, and it'll be first come, first serve. So we're probably going to limit it, or I would say probably anywhere in between 10 and 15 people at a time, just for camping purposes and logistics and whatnot. But we'll need someone to be able to gather those names, and then of course let them know the itinerary, and then also have preferably someone else to partner with them and being able to set up the logistics so that we are accommodated from wherever we start the hike to wherever we end the hike, so we can have transportation if necessary to get back to our starting point. We are going to just allow people to sign up right now. We don't have any paid memberships. If you go in and put in your email address, we're going to receive your email. We'll be putting that out in the form of email messages, newsletters. We're going to start that up again probably in the next couple of months as well, if you just want to keep up. But if you're interested in doing something, by all means, let us know, whether it be you want to participate in the hike or you want to help coordinate these hikes, because we want this to be a great experience. I'd love to have people to go out and share it with me. So really, at this point, I need all of you to be engaged with this. If you have not started following this channel, please subscribe so that starting this fall, you'll be able to start watching these videos, and you'll be able to like it, share it with us that you think that might be interested in this, because the sooner we can get the word out, the better. Now, there's going to be some other marketing that we're going to be doing in the next several months. I mentioned Connor earlier, and he has some very good connections with some of the media across the state. And what we're going to be working on as we get later into the year and into early next year is to be able to start setting up more interviews for either myself or someone else to be able to talk about the Bayou State Trail. And the time will be great by that point, because we'll have more content to show. By that point, I would have been out on trail for a few months. And of course, hopefully we'll have others that'll be sharing some of the content as well. But really, it really comes down to you all. If you can share all this information that we're going to be putting out, the sooner we can get people recognized about this trail, the better. I can tell you that we can develop our own niche, if you will, for hiking in terms of long distance through hikes. First of all, it's our location. Secondly is the geography of it. Third is the culture. And so to break this down geographically, it's a fairly easy trail to hike because it's fairly flat. Louisiana does have a little hills when you get further north, of course, but someone that's an experienced hiker could probably hike this within about a month. Now, on these longer hikes, everyone does like to take what they call zeros. They like to take a few days off to be able to just gather supplies, get into a bed to sleep if they haven't been able to sleep in one for several days at a time. But you can crush a lot of miles on this. And so someone could plan out a month and not have to take longer than that to be able to finish it up. The location's vital, the second one I'm going to go ahead and bring up. And it's primarily for this. We're going to be able to accommodate a lot of people in what's really considered the off season for hiking. If you're keeping up with people on YouTube these days, they're hiking two of the trails I mentioned earlier. They're also hiking the Appalachian Trail. There's some other trails in the mountains, particularly out west, that people like to hike this time of the year. Well, time's winding down pretty soon on that because, especially when you're in the mountains, it starts to get very cold. You're probably going to end up starting experiencing snow. So for those that don't want to wait until next spring to be able to go hiking, Louisiana is a great option. And if you look at the viable trails that fall into that 100 plus mile range in the southeast part of the state, particularly the Gulf South, there aren't that many. What I've noticed is in the winter months, starting around the holidays through February, I've been seeing some of these hikers on YouTube publishing their videos of their hiking experiences on the Florida Trail and the Lone Star Hiking Trail. The Florida Trail is 1,100 miles, goes all the way across the state from the Everglades all the way up to the Florida Panhandle. And the Lone Star Hiking Trail runs about 100 miles east-west, just north of Houston. They're becoming popular. There are people that also like to go to Arkansas. They'll go the Ozark Highlands Trail, and they'll also will go to the Ouachita Trail. Well, the Bayou State Trail is going to be in the middle of all of that. So it doesn't always have to be an either-or option for people to decide if they want to go on the Bayou State Trail compared to something else if they have a lot of time to hike. But with that being said, it falls right into that pocket of it being about a month. So it may be too long of a hike to go on the Florida Trail, and they may want to go a little longer than the Lone Star Hiking Trail. And then when you get into Arkansas, those are in that 200 mile range. I think Ouachita is about 220, and Ozark Highlands is just under 200. But there again, you go to Arkansas, might have some snow coming through during that time of the year where they may have to delay or postpone their hike. So we've got an opportunity to really develop our niche for the hiking community, not only across the United States, but internationally. And when you think about the time of the year with that, you have Christmas, but then also too, we've got Mardi Gras. And there's a lot of people that are probably very interested in coming down during the Mardi Gras season and experience the third thing, which is the culture. We know how unique of a culture Louisiana has because it's so different from one section of the state to the other. So when you add those three things in, it's definitely going to be a trail that once people start finding out about it, they're going to want to try it out. And I think that as we get more people on this trail, it's going to bring more attention to the locals, and it's going to be high on the priority scale at that point for them to look at ways of improving the experience, when it could simply even be maybe they come up with some slight remodified routes that would be more single path. Obviously, we want as much single path trail down the line as much as we can, but we have to be able to show people that are hiking it to be able to get to that point. Let me make sure I don't have anything else I want to talk about here. I think that's pretty much it. So I'm going to go ahead and answer any questions or comments. If you go to the website, it's www.bayoustatetrail.com. And I'll try this if this helps you might have accidentally had a mistype. I'll just put the HTTPS in front of it and see if that works for you better. But yeah, I mean, this has been a long time coming, and I'm glad we're taking this approach now because, quite frankly, I was starting to get a little concerned that I'd get too old to hike the Bayou State Trail by the time it would finally come along. So thanks, Ruth. I appreciate the comments. Yeah, we've definitely had a lot of great support over the last few years. Ruth was one. She actually wrote a couple of articles on the Bayou State Trail a few years ago. And so thank you, Ruth, for everything you've done. And if you can contribute more in the future, we definitely would appreciate that as well. So if anyone has any other questions, feel free to put them out. I've been talking now for about 30 minutes. I'm kind of getting a little tired to talk, but definitely keep an eye out on everything that we're going to be posting here over the next several months through our social media platforms that we have with the Bayou State Trail Association as we garner volunteers for some of the roles that I discussed earlier. And hopefully we'll be able to get a lot of people involved on this thing. One thing that I'll tell you is that for anyone that's either not interested in hiking a trail like this, or they feel like they may not be physically able to hike long distance trails like this, there's a lot of enjoyment that comes along by being what they call a trail angel. If you go and watch some of these YouTube videos, there are people that volunteer to do different things for these hikers. One of the things that they'll do sometimes is they'll park at a trailhead parking lot and they'll cook and serve food and drinks to the hikers as they're coming through. We also have people that will shuttle. A lot of times what happens is, let's say someone's been hiking for a few days and they want to get to town. Well, that might be another 5 miles to get to the nearest town. So these trail angels will pick them up at a trailhead, bring them into town, drop them off, and then a lot of times they'll bring them right back the next day or so to get them back on trail and connect their footsteps and continue along their way. That's another thing I didn't even mention earlier, the hospitality that Louisiana has. I'm pretty sure we'll be able to step up to the plate and have a lot of trail angels as the year progresses. So a question about resupply. So if you go and look at the map, there's a lot of small towns along the way, particularly in I'll just stop for a second and explain how we're breaking this trail down. There's 3 regions of the Bayou State Trail, and it's based upon the regions of the state. There's North Louisiana, Central Louisiana, and South Louisiana. And the way it worked out with North Louisiana, you're going through several towns. Now, there are some, more populated areas. For instance, if you're going southbound on the trail, like I plan on doing, by day 4, you'd be getting into Minden. Well, Minden has a lot of amenities there. They have hotels, they have grocery stores, they have a super Walmart, plenty of fast food places, you name it. Then once you get out of Minden, you go further south, you're going to be hitting some smaller communities along the way. So you have to be able to plan it out in advance. And of course, as I cover it, I'll be able to show more ground level what some of that looks like. But just by going to maps, looking at what's there, I would say that there's going to be places where, particularly North Louisiana, and I would say when you get into South Louisiana, as we start hitting places like Ville Platte, Washington, LeBeau, and then Palmetto, you're going to be hitting, if anything, these Dollar General stores. So there's going to be some places you can stop at along the way. Now, one of the things that we're going to be doing is, as time progresses with the development of the website, we're going to be adding a lot more information on. I wanted to at least be able to get the map up there and have a summary of the Bayou State Trail. But we are going to start breaking it down in time not only by the regions I just discussed, but by sections, so that we'll have more in-depth information along the way as you go through the trail of suggested places where you can stop. But there will be plenty of resupply places for sure. So thanks for the question, Ruth. Are there any other questions at this point? So if they're not, I'm going to go ahead and just give you a quick rundown of what to expect here on this channel over the next few weeks. So if you've been following me the last 2 years, and around mid to late September, I always like to come out and announce what my planned hikes are. So I'll be doing that again. I'm basically going to be committing, 80 to 90% of my hikes on the Bayou State Trail this year, but there will be a few others. So I'll be putting that out, and I'll have a little bit more information as to what my plans are for the Bayou State Trail. Once I get close to starting the hiking of the Bayou State Trail, going back to what I mentioned about the regions, I'm going to put out at least 3 videos that break down those regions so that people can kind of have a better insight as to what they can expect along the way in those regions. But as we go forth and we're actually ground level hiking the Bayou State Trail, we're going to be adding a lot more information from our experiences from there. And some of this is going to be more just in time as we're preparing one day or one weekend to the next. One of the things I want to be able to do is make sure that before we go out there, which is why I'd like to have a limit on the amount of hikers that are going to be participating, is to be able to make arrangements at some places where we're going to be spending the night. And there's going to be several campgrounds along the way, either right on the trail or right near the trail. But particularly when you get to places like North Louisiana, and Peter went out and investigated himself the first 3 days of the Bayou State Trail, there was a little town called Cotton Valley, which you would hit at the end of day 2. And he was able to find a church to be able to accommodate spending the night. And a lot of those churches, if you just tell them in advance, they'll let you spend the night. So as we go along on the trail, we're going to start gathering more information. And then I'll be able to report ground level on Cajun Hikes. Hey, I'm not spending the night here. However, I can tell you that these are the 2 or these are the 3 churches you can contact in advance if you want to be able to camp out if there's no campground area nearby. And of course, if there's other tidbits, I'm going to share it on the Bayou State Trail channel. But we're also going to turn around and put that information out on social media and continuously update section by section and region by region on the Bayou State Trail website as well. So it's going to be it's going to be kind of funny because, I've been doing hiking now since the late 2000s. And of course, I started the Cajun Hikes channel 2 years ago. It's going to be a very unique experience for me because I'm going out on a trail that is brand new, that I helped design. And I'm going to be critiquing my own route that I've come up with. But that's why I want to get ahead on it and be able to experience it for myself, so that if we do feel like we need to reevaluate a few small sections, we can do that. And of course, add information to the maps and to the website as we go forward. But I'm really excited about all this. Again, I want to thank everyone over the last few years that have been supporting this project. It's been a tremendous amount of support. And, on one hand, you can say, well, it's a shame you didn't do this 3 or 4 years ago. But on the other hand, I wouldn't change anything because it really provided a litmus test as to how many people really were interested in this trail. And, the word is out about the Bayou State Trail. And so now it's just a matter of being able to let people know, hey, the trail's ready. So we are going to start putting out a few pieces of content here over the next few days, just putting out the announcement that, hey, the Bayou State Trail is ready. Go check it out. I'm also going to work on putting out a few little pictures just kind of more teasers than anything. I kind of picked this up from the Ozark Highlands Trail Association, where it'll probably be something along the lines of name this spot along the Bayou State Trail. I have a lot of personal pics and videos I've taken that I can turn into snapshots just to get people excited and start to be able to identify some of the sections that they can experience if they go out and hike the trail themselves. So real pumped up about it. Again, thank you all for getting on this call tonight. And I look forward to seeing some of you out with me, hopefully this fall and into next year on the Bayou State Trail. And if not, hope that you do check out the videos starting in late October for my coverage of the Bayou State Trail. So thanks for watching, everyone, and I will see you again soon.